Listen carefully. There are forces working against you. Not in the shadows, not in some distant battlefield, but here, right now, in the choices you make when you walk through those gym doors. You came seeking strength, a body forged from effort, sweat, and sacrifice. But unseen, these mistakes lurk, waiting to rob you of the very gains you fight for, and if you let them, they will. The first mistake? Overtraining. There is a difference between dedication and destruction. Your body is not an unbreakable machine. It is a fortress that needs time to rebuild. Tear it down too often, and all you will find is weakness where you once sought power. Growth does not happen when you lift. It happens when you rest. Ignore this, and you will never know your true potential. Then there is nutrition. Some men believe they can outwork a bad diet. They are wrong. Muscle does not grow from sheer will alone. It demands fuel, but not just anything. Feed yourself with empty calories and your body will repay you with fatigue. Deprive yourself of what you need and your strength will slip through your fingers like sand in the wind. Every rep, every set, every drop of sweat means nothing if you are not rebuilding with precision. And what of form? The iron does not care for pride. It does not reward those who sacrifice precision for heavy plates. It punishes them. You may fool yourself into thinking the numbers on the bar define you, but when your technique is flawed, your strength is an illusion. One wrong move, one moment of arrogance, and your journey is over before it has truly begun. But none of it matters if you lack consistency. Discipline is the difference between those who dream and those who achieve. You cannot train only when it is convenient. You cannot skip sessions and expect results. The body does not care for excuses. It only understands effort. You either show up or you do not. And if you do not, you are already defeated. And finally, there is the mind-muscle connection. Lifting is not simply movement. It is war. Between you and the weight, between who you were and who you must become. If you go through the motions, distracted, disconnected, you will never build true power. Every rep must be controlled. Every contraction must be deliberate. You do not lift to finish a workout. You lift to conquer it. So now, you stand at a crossroads. You can ignore these words and continue as you were, wondering why your strength stagnates, why your body refuses to change. Or you can take control. Train with intent, fuel with precision, rest with purpose, and when you return to that gym, you will no longer be just another person lifting weights. You will be a force, and nothing will stand in your way. Overtraining is a silent destroyer, a trap that many ambitious lifters fall into without realizing its consequences until it's too late. The mindset of pushing harder, training longer, and never taking a break is glorified in fitness culture. It is celebrated as dedication, as the hallmark of those who refuse to accept mediocrity. Yet beneath this relentless pursuit of progress lies a dangerous truth. The human body is not a machine that endlessly absorbs punishment without consequence. It is an intricate system that thrives on balance. Stress is essential for growth, but without recovery, it becomes the very force that breaks you down rather than builds you up. When muscles are subjected to intense strain, microscopic tears form within their fibers. This damage is not a sign of weakness. It is the foundation upon which strength is built. But what happens next determines whether that foundation becomes unshakable or crumbles under its own weight. The body requires time, nutrients, and rest to repair these tears, making them stronger, denser, and more capable of handling greater loads. Without adequate recovery, those tears remain open wounds, never fully healing before being torn apart again. Over time, instead of becoming stronger, the muscles deteriorate, their endurance diminishes, and their capacity for growth is stifled. The signs of overtraining often appear subtly at first, easily mistaken for temporary fatigue. Workouts begin to feel heavier, weights that were once manageable become a struggle, and the fire that once burned with intensity starts to dim. Instead of progress, there is stagnation. Instead of energy, there is exhaustion. Sleep becomes restless, disrupted by a body that is constantly inflamed and unable to shut down for proper healing. Appetite fluctuates unpredictably, swinging between extreme hunger and complete loss of interest in food. The mind suffers just as much as the body. Motivation begins to fade, replaced by irritability, frustration, and even depression. The gym, once a place of strength and growth, starts to feel like an endless battlefield where every session is a losing fight. Injuries become more frequent, small aches turning into chronic pain, joints feeling the wear and tear of muscles that never had the chance to recover. The immune system weakens, making colds and infections more frequent, further derailing progress. Hormonal imbalances take hold, testosterone levels drop, cortisol rises, and the body enters a constant state of stress, unable to differentiate between the effort required to lift weights and the strain of survival itself. One of the greatest misconceptions about training is the belief that more is always better. The body does not respond to sheer volume alone, but rather to the quality of the stress placed upon it. Growth does not happen during the workout. The gym is the battlefield where the damage occurs, but the war is won in the hours and days that follow. Recovery is not a sign of weakness. It is the key to adaptation. The most effective athletes understand this balance, knowing when to push and when to step back. Rest is not laziness, it is strategy. Deloading, cycling intensity, and incorporating active recovery are not signs of a lack of dedication, but of mastery over one's own limits. The best warriors do not fight without armor, and the strongest bodies are not built by reckless training, but by calculated discipline. Sleep, often overlooked and sacrificed in the name of productivity, becomes the most powerful tool in the arsenal of recovery. It is during sleep that muscle repair reaches its peak, where growth hormone is released in its highest quantities, and where the nervous system resets itself for the battles ahead. Skipping rest is not an act of strength, but of sabotage. The mind plays a crucial role in overtraining as well. The relentless pursuit of progress can blind even the most disciplined athletes to the damage being done. It is easy to ignore the warning signs, to convince oneself that fatigue is just a test of willpower. But the body does not negotiate. It does not care for excuses. It responds only to what it is given. If pushed beyond its capacity without the opportunity to recover, it will break down, whether one acknowledges it or not. The strongest lifters are not those who train without pause, but those who understand that true strength lies in longevity, in the ability to keep progressing without burning out. Patience is a weapon just as sharp as intensity. Those who train with intelligence recognize that the pursuit of strength is a marathon, not a sprint. The key to sustainable progress is not found in endless grinding, but in the balance between effort and restoration. Nutrition also plays a pivotal role in the battle against overtraining. Recovery is not just about rest, but about replenishment. The body cannot rebuild what it does not have the materials for. Protein synthesis, glycogen replenishment, and hydration all work together to ensure that muscles not only heal, but come back stronger. Neglecting nutrition is like trying to build a fortress without bricks. Without the right fuel, the body remains in a constant state of depletion, unable to recover fully before being thrown into the next workout. This creates a downward spiral where each session takes more than it gives, leading to a slow but inevitable breakdown. The body will always prioritize survival over performance. If it is forced to choose between keeping vital functions running and repairing muscle damage, it will always choose survival, leaving strength gains stagnant and endurance compromised. Proper nutrition is not optional. It is the foundation upon which all progress is built. The ego is perhaps the greatest enemy when it comes to overtraining. The fear of taking a step back, of reducing intensity, or of taking a day off can be overwhelming for those who define themselves by their training. But the strongest lifters, the ones who stand the test of time, understand that recovery is not weakness. It is a calculated move, a necessary pause before pushing forward once again. Strength is not just about lifting heavy. It is about knowing when to hold back and when to unleash full force. It is about understanding that every warrior, no matter how powerful, must take time to sharpen their blade before returning to battle. The gym is not just a place for physical exertion, It is a test of discipline, patience, and self-awareness. Training harder will not always yield better results. Training smarter will. Overtraining is not a sign of dedication but of misunderstanding. It is not the mark of the strong but of the impatient. The real path to strength is built on a foundation of balance, discipline, and the wisdom to know that true power is not forged through constant struggle, but through the mastery of effort and recovery. Those who ignore this truth will find themselves trapped in an endless cycle of fatigue, frustration, and failure. Those who embrace it will rise, stronger, sharper, and unstoppable. Nutrition is the cornerstone of strength, the foundation upon which every ounce of muscle is built. Yet it remains one of the most misunderstood aspects of training. Many lifters believe that as long as they are pushing themselves in the gym, their bodies will adapt and grow regardless of what they consume. This is a dangerous misconception, one that leads to stagnation, fatigue, and an inability to reach the full potential of physical transformation. Training is only half the battle. Without proper fuel, the body becomes a machine that lacks the necessary resources to repair and rebuild itself. Muscles do not grow in the gym, they grow in the hours and days that follow, provided they are given the nutrients required for recovery. Without this, the damage inflicted during training remains just that, damage, rather than the spark that ignites new strength. Protein is the essential building block of muscle, yet many fail to consume enough to sustain their training. Every rep, every set, every movement in the gym causes microscopic tears in the muscle fibers. The only way these fibers become stronger and denser is through the process of protein synthesis, where amino acids are used to rebuild the tissue, making it more resilient than before. Without adequate protein intake, this process is hindered, and instead of gaining strength, the body remains in a constant state of breakdown. The balance between protein intake and muscle recovery is a delicate one. Too little, and the body is forced to take from its own reserves, breaking down existing muscle tissue to meet its needs. Too much, and the excess is wasted, converted into energy or stored rather than utilized for repair. The precision of nutrition is just as important as the intensity of training. Carbohydrates are often demonized, cast aside by those who believe that cutting them out will lead to faster results. Yet they remain one of the most critical sources of fuel for performance. The energy needed to push through grueling workouts, to lift heavier, to sustain endurance, all stems from glycogen stored within the muscles. When carbohydrates are restricted, these glycogen stores become depleted, leaving the body weak, fatigued, and unable to perform at its peak. Strength training is not just about lifting. It is about sustaining effort over time, about having the power to push beyond previous limits. Without carbohydrates, this ability is severely compromised. The body begins to rely on alternative fuel sources, breaking down muscle tissue for energy, undoing the very progress being fought for. Those who fail to recognize the importance of carbohydrates often find themselves struggling with prolonged fatigue, longer recovery times, and an overall decline in performance. The belief that carbohydrates are unnecessary is not only misguided but dangerous for those seeking true physical development. Fats play an equally crucial role in the equation of muscle growth and recovery. They are the foundation of hormonal balance, the key to maintaining optimal testosterone levels, and the regulators of countless bodily functions that determine strength and endurance. Without sufficient healthy fats, testosterone production declines, leading to reduced muscle growth, slower recovery, and a lack of energy. The body requires essential fatty acids to function at its highest capacity, to keep joints lubricated, to support brain function, and to maintain the intricate hormonal balance that dictates performance. Those who neglect fats in pursuit of a leaner physique often find themselves weaker, more fatigued, and unable to sustain long-term progress. It is not just about consuming fats, but about choosing the right sources. The ones that provide lasting energy, support cellular function, and contribute to overall health rather than detract from it. The key to sustaining peak performance is not the elimination of macronutrients, but the mastery of their balance. Hydration is an overlooked but critical aspect of proper nutrition. The human body is composed primarily of water, and every function, from muscle contractions to nutrient absorption, depends on proper hydration levels. Dehydration is a silent enemy, creeping in unnoticed until it manifests as muscle cramps, weakness, slower recovery, and reduced endurance. Even a slight drop in hydration levels can lead to decreased strength output, impaired focus, and an inability to push through intense training sessions. Water is not just about quenching thirst, it is about maintaining the internal environment in which muscle growth takes place. The transport of nutrients, the regulation of body temperature, and the elimination of metabolic waste all rely on the body being adequately hydrated. Those who fail to prioritize water intake often find themselves plateauing, their bodies struggling to recover, and their performance suffering without an obvious reason. Proper hydration is not just about drinking water when thirsty. It is about maintaining a consistent intake that ensures the body is always primed for peak performance. Meal timing and nutrient distribution are just as important as the foods themselves. The body does not function on random bursts of energy. It thrives on consistency, on a steady supply of nutrients that support its demands throughout the day. Pre-workout nutrition determines energy levels during training, providing the fuel necessary to sustain intensity and endurance. Post-workout nutrition is the key to recovery, the window in which muscles are most receptive to absorbing nutrients and beginning the repair process. Skipping meals, eating erratically, or consuming nutrients at the wrong times leads to inconsistent energy levels, impaired recovery, and a lack of sustained progress. Those who understand the importance of nutrient timing are able to maximize every session, ensuring that their bodies are always prepared to perform and recover efficiently. One of the greatest mistakes made in nutrition is the reliance on processed, empty-calorie foods that provide no real value to the body. Fast food, excessive sugars, and artificial additives do nothing to support muscle growth and recovery. They leave the body sluggish, inflamed, and unable to function at its highest potential. True strength is built on whole, nutrient-dense foods that provide the necessary vitamins, minerals, and macronutrients required for peak performance. The body is a reflection of what it is fed. Those who fuel themselves with quality ingredients experience higher energy levels, faster recovery, and greater strength gains. Those who rely on convenience and empty calories struggle with fatigue, poor performance, and slower progress. Nutrition is not just about eating enough, it is about eating the right foods that contribute to the long-term goal of sustained growth and peak performance. Supplements are often viewed as a shortcut, a way to bypass the need for proper nutrition, yet they are exactly as their name suggests, supplements, not replacements. No amount of protein powder, pre-workout formulas, or mass gainers will compensate for a diet lacking in real, whole foods. Supplements are meant to enhance, to fill in the gaps where necessary, but they cannot and will not replace the fundamentals of proper nutrition. Those who rely on supplements as the foundation of their diet often find themselves experiencing inconsistent results as their bodies remain deprived of the full spectrum of nutrients required for growth. The strongest lifters understand that supplements are tools, not solutions. The real progress is made through disciplined eating habits, through the mastery of nutrient intake, and through the understanding that nothing can replace the power of real food. The failure to recognize the importance of nutrition is one of the most common reasons why lifters fail to see results. No amount of effort in the gym can compensate for a lack of proper fuel. The body will always prioritize survival over muscle growth, and if it is not given what it needs, it will not perform at its best. Those who take their nutrition as seriously as their training see consistent gains, sustained energy levels, and the ability to push past limits without burning out. Those who ignore it remain stuck in cycles of fatigue, frustration, and stagnation, never fully realizing what they are capable of achieving. Form and technique are the unshakable foundations of strength. Every movement, every lift, every contraction of muscle must be executed with absolute precision, yet so many sacrifice this for the illusion of progress. They load the bar with weight beyond their capability, convinced that sheer numbers define their strength, unaware that they are setting themselves up for failure. The iron is merciless. It does not care for ego. It does not reward recklessness. It punishes those who ignore the fundamentals, those who believe that brute force alone will carry them forward. Strength is not just about lifting heavier. It is about lifting smarter. The body is a finely tuned machine, designed to function in a specific manner, with joints, muscles, and tendons working in perfect synchronization. When this balance is disrupted, when movements become sloppy, when weight is lifted without control, the risk of injury skyrockets. The body is not meant to be thrown into motion carelessly. Every joint, every ligament has a limit, and when those limits are ignored, the consequences are severe. A torn muscle, a herniated disc, a damaged tendon can set a lifter back months or even years, sometimes permanently. The pain of proper form is temporary. The pain of injury lasts far longer. Proper execution of an exercise maximizes muscle engagement, ensuring that every rep is effective. Poor form robs the muscles of the tension they need to grow. A squat performed with shallow depth fails to activate the full potential of the legs. A deadlift executed with a rounded back shifts the strain from the muscles to the spine. A bench press with improper bar path places unnecessary stress on the shoulders instead of the chest. Every exercise has an optimal movement pattern, designed not only for safety but for efficiency. When form is compromised, the body compensates in ways that lead to imbalances. The wrong muscles take over, leaving the targeted ones underdeveloped. Strength built on flawed mechanics is unstable, unreliable, and ultimately unsustainable. Those who neglect technique in favor of heavier weights find themselves plateauing, unable to push past their limitations, their progress stalling as their bodies fail to adapt properly. The nervous system plays a crucial role in strength development. Muscle memory is not just a phrase, it is the body's ability to learn and refine movement patterns over time. Every poorly executed rep reinforces bad habits, teaching the body to move in ways that are inefficient and dangerous. The more these habits are repeated, the harder they are to correct. It is far easier to learn proper technique from the start than to undo months or years of improper movement. Those who rush through their training, who fail to focus on each repetition with precision, ingrain dysfunction into their performance. Strength is not just about muscles. It is about coordination, stability, and control. The greatest lifters are not simply the strongest. They are the ones who have mastered their movement, who have trained their bodies to function with absolute efficiency. Tempo and control are the difference between those who build true strength and those who merely move weights. Lifting is not just about getting from point A to point B. It is about how the movement is performed. A controlled descent in a squat engages the muscles more than a fast, uncontrolled drop. A slow, deliberate eccentric phase in a bicep curl forces the muscle to work harder than a momentum-driven swing. A pause at the bottom of a bench press eliminates reliance on elasticity and forces pure strength output. Those who rush through their repetitions, who bounce weights, who use momentum instead of muscle engagement, cheat themselves out of progress. They convince themselves they are lifting heavy, yet they are merely shifting weight from one point to another without true resistance. Time under tension is what breaks down muscle fibers, what forces adaptation, what triggers growth. Speed has its place in training, but only when it is controlled, when it is intentional, when it serves a purpose beyond merely completing a repetition. Breathing is a forgotten element of proper lifting technique. The body relies on oxygen to fuel muscle contractions, to maintain stability, to regulate intra-abdominal pressure. Holding the breath incorrectly during a lift, exhaling at the wrong moment, failing to brace the core properly, all lead to weaker performance and increased risk of injury. A proper breath before a heavy squat or deadlift creates a solid foundation, a wall of pressure that supports the spine, that allows the body to generate maximum force. Shallow, erratic breathing weakens this foundation, leaving the lifter unstable, vulnerable to collapse under weight they should be able to handle. The strongest lifters understand the power of breath control. They do not merely inhale and exhale. They brace, they create tension, they use every ounce of air in their lungs to stabilize their bodies for the force they are about to exert. Mind-muscle connection separates those who merely train from those who truly build strength. Lifting is not about mindlessly moving weights. It is about feeling every contraction, engaging every fiber with intent, directing every ounce of energy into the movement. Those who go through the motions without focus fail to maximize their potential. The body does not simply grow because weight is lifted. It grows because the muscles are activated, because they are placed under precise tension, because they are forced to work beyond their previous limits. A lifter who curls a dumbbell without engaging the biceps, who presses a barbell without feeling the chest contract, who deadlifts without activating the posterior chain, is wasting effort. Every rep must have purpose. Every movement must be deliberate. Those who train with awareness, who command their muscles to work rather than allowing momentum to take over, see faster and more consistent progress. The role of stability in proper form cannot be overstated. Strength is not just about moving weight. It is about maintaining control, about ensuring that every joint remains aligned, that every movement is executed with precision. Wobbling under a squat, shifting during a deadlift, struggling to maintain bar path in a press are all signs of instability, indicators that the foundation is not solid. The body must be trained not only for strength, but for stability, for balance, for the ability to maintain control under any circumstance. Weak stabilizers lead to weak lifts. Core strength is the hidden force behind every major compound movement. A strong core allows for greater power transfer, for better posture, for reduced strain on the lower back and joints. Those who neglect core training, who fail to build the stabilizing muscles necessary for heavy lifts, find themselves constantly struggling to progress, unable to maintain proper form as the weight increases. Mobility and flexibility are the overlooked components of proper technique. Tight muscles limit range of motion, restrict movement patterns, and force the body into compensatory mechanisms that lead to poor form and eventual injury. A lifter who cannot squat to full depth because of tight hips is not training effectively. A deadlift performed with limited hamstring mobility places strain on the lower back, rather than engaging the posterior chain. A press executed with tight shoulders forces improper bar path, increasing stress on the joints rather than the muscles. The body must be able to move freely, to function without restriction, to perform each exercise in its full range. Those who prioritize mobility, who stretch, who work on flexibility, who ensure their joints remain healthy, are able to lift heavier, perform better, and avoid the chronic pain that plagues so many who ignore these crucial elements. Proper technique is the foundation of all progress. Without it, strength is an illusion, progress is temporary, and injury is inevitable. The greatest lifters are not the ones who move the heaviest weights. They are the ones who master every movement, who understand their bodies, who execute every rep with precision. Strength is built through discipline, through control, through an unrelenting focus on form. Those who embrace this truth rise above the rest. Those who ignore it fall behind. Rest and recovery are not luxuries. They are not optional. They are the very foundation of progress, the silent forces that allow the body to adapt, repair, and grow stronger. Many lifters believe that the battle is won in the gym, that each session must be harder, longer, more intense to achieve the desired results. They fall into the trap of believing that the more effort they put into their workouts, the faster they will see gains. But this mindset is flawed. The gym is where the muscles are broken down. It is where the strain is placed upon the body. But it is in the recovery process that the real work happens. When training is over and the weights are put down, the body begins the difficult task of repairing muscle fibers, replenishing glycogen stores, and addressing the physical stress that has been placed on it. Without adequate rest, this process is interrupted, leaving the muscles unable to repair fully, unable to grow. Instead of making progress, overtraining leads to stagnation, frustration, and eventually, injury. Sleep is the cornerstone of recovery. During deep sleep, the body releases growth hormone, the key hormone responsible for muscle repair and growth. This is when the body is able to rebuild muscle fibers torn during intense exercise, when energy stores are replenished, and when the nervous system is given the opportunity to reset. Without sleep, this process is severely compromised. A single night of poor sleep can lead to decreased strength, slower reaction times, and impaired muscle recovery. But sleep deprivation over an extended period compounds the problem, leading to chronic fatigue and increased risk of injury and a marked decrease in performance. Sleep deprivation affects more than just physical recovery. It also impacts mental focus, motivation, and mood. When sleep is lacking, mental clarity diminishes, making it harder to concentrate during workouts and to push through difficult sets. Furthermore, inadequate sleep raises levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, which not only interferes with recovery but also contributes to muscle breakdown and fat retention. To truly maximize training, lifters must prioritize sleep as much as they do their workouts, ensuring that their bodies are given the time they need to fully recover. Active recovery is another crucial element that many lifters overlook. They believe that once the workout is done, all that remains is rest. But rest is not always complete rest. Active recovery involves low-intensity exercise that promotes blood flow and helps the body clear metabolic waste products like lactic acid. These low-intensity activities could include light cardio, stretching, yoga, or foam rolling. Engaging in active recovery allows the muscles to stay engaged without placing additional strain on them. It promotes circulation, bringing oxygen and nutrients to muscles that need to repair. Furthermore, active recovery helps to prevent stiffness, soreness, and muscle tightness, which can hinder future workouts. It is an essential part of the recovery process, allowing the body to remain limber and functioning at its best, while still allowing the muscles to repair. Rest days should not be about doing nothing. Instead, they should be used to engage in low-impact activities that support overall recovery, enabling the body to prepare for the next round of intense training. Nutrition is an integral part of the recovery process. Without the proper nutrients, the body cannot fully recover or repair the damage caused during training. After a workout, muscles are depleted of glycogen, the primary fuel used during exercise. Consuming carbohydrates after a workout helps to replenish these stores, ensuring that the body is ready for the next training session. Alongside carbohydrates, protein is essential for muscle recovery. The body requires amino acids to repair muscle fibers and to initiate protein synthesis, the process that leads to muscle growth. Consuming a high-quality source of protein within 30 to 60 minutes after training helps to jumpstart this process, ensuring that muscles have the building blocks they need to recover. However, recovery is not just about post-workout nutrition. Throughout the day, consistent nutrient intake is required to maintain optimal recovery. Consuming smaller, balanced meals every few hours provides the body with a steady supply of nutrients to fuel recovery and promote growth. Without proper nutrition, the body lacks the resources it needs to rebuild muscle tissue, leading to delayed recovery, slower progress, and increased risk of injury. Nutrition and rest must work together in harmony to achieve the best results. Hydration plays an often underestimated role in recovery. Water is crucial for maintaining the balance of bodily fluids, for nutrient transport, and for the regulation of temperature. When muscles are worked hard during exercise, they produce heat, and staying hydrated helps to regulate this process. Dehydration, even in mild forms, can impair recovery and performance. It leads to muscle cramps, slower digestion of nutrients, and delayed removal of metabolic waste. Furthermore, water is essential for the transport of essential nutrients to muscles and for removing waste products from the body. Without proper hydration, the entire recovery process is compromised, leading to prolonged soreness, decreased performance, and slower recovery times. For lifters, ensuring adequate water intake throughout the day is as important as anything they do in the gym. A well-hydrated body is one that recovers faster, performs better, and experiences fewer injuries. One of the most overlooked aspects of recovery is the mental recovery that is just as essential as physical rest. Training takes a toll not only on the body but also on the mind. The intense focus, the mental effort, the stress of pushing through difficult sessions can lead to burnout if not properly managed. Constant training without mental rest can lead to fatigue, loss of motivation, and mental burnout, all of which negatively affect performance and progress. Taking time to relax, to unwind, to de-stress is critical for mental recovery. This can involve activities such as meditation, spending time outdoors, or simply taking time away from the demands of the gym. Mental recovery allows the lifter to reset, to return to training with renewed focus and energy. Without mental recovery, physical gains become more difficult to attain, as stress and fatigue hinder performance and motivation. The mind and body must be in sync for true progress to occur, and this requires care and attention to both aspects of recovery. Overtraining is one of the biggest obstacles to effective recovery. Many lifters ignore the signals their bodies send them, pushing through fatigue, pain, and exhaustion, believing that more is always better. But overtraining is the enemy of progress. When the body is constantly subjected to stress without adequate recovery, it becomes worn down, its ability to repair and grow diminished. The lifter becomes stuck in a cycle of stagnation, never improving, always fighting against fatigue and soreness. Overtraining increases cortisol levels, which not only impede recovery, but also increase muscle breakdown, leading to a decline in performance. The key to effective training is knowing when to push and when to rest. Taking regular rest days, incorporating deload weeks, and listening to the body's signals are essential for long-term progress. The most successful athletes are not those who train the hardest, but those who know when to pull back, when to rest, and when to let their bodies recover fully before pushing the limits again. Consistency is key in the recovery process. Just as progress in the gym is built over time through consistent effort, so too is recovery built through consistent care. Prioritizing sleep, engaging in active recovery, ensuring proper nutrition, staying hydrated, and allowing mental rest all must be integrated into daily habits. Recovery is not an afterthought. It is an ongoing process that is just as important as training itself. Without consistency in recovery, the body cannot keep up with the demands of intense training, and progress stalls. A well-recovered body is stronger, more resilient, and better prepared to handle the stresses of future workouts. Those who make recovery a priority see faster progress, fewer injuries, and greater long-term success. Success staller, without it, their gains will always be limited, their potential untapped. The consistency in your training is the silent force that drives every ounce of progress. In a world where instant gratification is often expected, it's easy to believe that results should come quickly and without much delay. Too many lifters make the mistake of jumping from one workout program to another, seeking that magic routine that will give them immediate results. They may go hard for a week, a month, or even a few months, only to experience a plateau or lose interest when the results aren't as quick as they expected. This approach leads nowhere. Building strength, muscle, and endurance is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires a level of commitment and discipline that goes beyond simply showing up to the gym. It's about doing the work consistently, week in and week out, regardless of the temporary setbacks or slow progress. The truth is that there are no shortcuts to building a stronger body. There is no quick fix. The magic lies in consistency. Every session you complete, every rep, every set, no matter how small the improvement may seem, adds up over time. Each consistent effort compounds on the last, creating a snowball effect that builds momentum toward your goals. Skipping a workout here and there may not seem like a big deal in the short term, but over weeks, months, and years, these missed sessions add up. The body thrives on consistency. The muscles need constant stimuli to grow. The cardiovascular system requires repeated effort to improve. The nervous system needs time to adapt and strengthen. None of this happens if the body isn't exposed to regular and consistent stress. When training is sporadic, when you're in and out of the gym, your progress stalls. The muscle fibers need to be broken down and rebuilt over time. If you're not training consistently, your muscles never receive the proper stimuli to trigger this repair process. The body adapts to what it's regularly exposed to. Without consistent effort, it becomes complacent, stagnant, and resistant to further improvement. Gains are the result of repeated, consistent stress placed on the body. The compound effect of working hard day after day, week after week, can lead to incredible results over time. One of the most common barriers to consistent training is motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the tides of the ocean. On some days you feel unstoppable, ready to crush your workout and push yourself to new limits. On other days you struggle to get out of bed, and the gym feels like a distant dream. If you rely solely on motivation to fuel your workouts, you will inevitably fall short. Motivation is not what creates long-term progress. Discipline does. Discipline is the ability to push through those days when motivation is nowhere to be found. It's about committing to the process even when you don't feel like it. Understanding that the hard work you put in today will pay off in the future. The most successful lifters are not the ones who are motivated all the time. They are the ones who show up regardless of how they feel. This discipline isn't built overnight. It's a habit, something that you create through repetition. When you make training a non-negotiable part of your day, just like brushing your teeth or eating a meal, it becomes second nature. The more you show up, the easier it becomes. It's not about waiting for the right mood or the perfect moment. It's about doing the work regardless of how you feel. Over time, discipline becomes more powerful than motivation because it is constant. Another obstacle to consistency is the tendency to chase after perfection. Many lifters believe that every workout needs to be flawless. If they don't hit their personal best, if they don't complete every rep with perfect form, or if they don't achieve their goal for the day, they feel as though they've failed. This mindset can lead to frustration and burnout. The reality is that not every workout will be perfect. Some days will feel harder than others. Some sessions will feel like a struggle, and others will feel like you've hit a new high. But the key is to stay consistent, even when things don't go perfectly. Even if you don't hit your target, showing up and doing the work anyway is progress. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about showing up day after day, doing your best and continuing to push forward regardless of the setbacks. Over time, those imperfect workouts add up to something great. Progress isn't linear. Some days will feel easier, some harder. There will be setbacks, injuries, and plateaus. But the important thing is to keep showing up. That's what separates those who succeed from those who give up. Perseverance is born through consistency. It's the ability to continue even when things aren't going according to plan. There's always going to be something standing in the way of your training. Life happens. Work, family, personal obligations, these things will always come up. But if you prioritize consistency, you find a way to get your workouts in. It doesn't always have to be perfect. If you can't make it to the gym, maybe you find time for a quick home workout. If you don't have time for a full session, you do what you can in the time you have. Even small, consistent efforts will build up over time. Every time you show up, no matter how much time you have, you reinforce the habit of training and build momentum. The key to consistency is understanding that life is unpredictable. You don't always get to train when you want or how you want, but that doesn't mean you stop training altogether. The consistency lies in your ability to keep moving forward, even when things don't go as planned. Accountability is another powerful tool in maintaining consistency. It's easy to skip a workout or slack off when you're training alone, but when you have someone else relying on you, when you have a coach or a training partner to hold you accountable, you are more likely to show up and do the work. The power of having someone by your side cannot be underestimated. Accountability keeps you on track, motivates you when you're struggling, and helps push you to achieve more than you would on your own. A training partner can challenge you, help you stay focused, and encourage you when you feel like quitting. Having someone to share the journey with brings a sense of camaraderie that makes the process more enjoyable and keeps you consistent in your efforts. The training environment plays a huge role in maintaining consistency. The gym should be a place that motivates you to show up every day. It should be a space where you can focus, where you feel driven, where you can put everything else aside and devote yourself entirely to the work. A cluttered, uninspiring, or poorly equipped gym can discourage you, making it harder to stay consistent. Create an environment that pushes you to stay on track. You surround yourself with people who support your goals, whether they're training partners, a coach, or friends who are equally committed to their fitness. Choose a gym that meets your needs, whether that means having the right equipment or simply a space where you feel comfortable and motivated. Consistency thrives in an environment that fosters growth. Consistent training doesn't mean that every session has to be the same. It means that you show up consistently, regardless of the workout. Not every day needs to be a high-intensity session. Not every workout needs to be a personal best. It's about developing the discipline to show up, to commit to the process, and to trust that progress will follow. Success in the gym comes from a consistent effort, not from sporadic bursts of intensity. Even the smallest, most mundane workout, when done consistently, can lead to remarkable changes. The path to achieving your fitness goals is paved with the bricks of consistency.